Welcome to another episode of Red and Black, where your conservatism is not just the color that you're used to. I'm Lenny McAllister. Happy Memorial Day weekend. And what I found out through the power of the internet and an app is I put my name in and I was able to find out what my MC rap name would be. And it came back Carlton Urkel. I wasn't very encouraged. But I have three people who I guarantee have cooler rap names than me, starting with the rock star over there. So would it be MC Rockstar? Or if you put your name into the app, it has to be cooler than Carlton Urkel. What would your rap name be, Kira Davis?
Your rap name is the color of your shirt plus the last thing you ate, so it's purple cheese.
Purple cheese. Are you an MC or a DJ Purple Cheese?
I'm MC Purple Cheese, so definitely come out to hear me sing my number one hit, Who Cut the Cheese?
And cheese.
How does that mean?
I don't know what to say.
So because you don't know what to say, Dr. Metzler, we're going to go to you first because you're the red and black official rap aficionado of this show. So if you were to have a rap name put through this rap app via the phone, what would your rap name be? I know it has to do something with intelligence and just being wise and, popular.
A lot of people don't know that Dr. Metzler actually was one of the original co-writers on Rapper's Delight.
Yeah. Thank you.
The rap.
It was previously Rapper's Meh, but then when he came along, it became Rapper's Delight. So with that said, Dr. Metzler, what would your rap name be?
Well, there are two things. First, it would be MC High Hammer. That would be number one.
Okay.
Secondly, I need to announce something very, very critical here on Red and Black. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Patrice Coulter, who just resigned from being the head of Black Lives Matter.
Wait.
So I just wanted to be clear.
Wait, are you joking?
She just resigned. She resigned.
Wow, I didn't know that.
You seriously did not have relations with her?
I did not have sexual relations
that's the other shocking
with that
part.
woman.
No, you're breaking.
He was renting her house out, or one of her houses out, as an Airbnb, but he did not have relations. Let's
with
get that clear.
Woman. Let's be clear.
Wow.
But she did resign. She now is going to focus on TV, books, and writing.
Naturally.
I thought you were going to tell us she was going into real estate.
Well, she's already in real estate. So I needed to make that clear because I didn't want the rumors flying.
I can understand that, but I do have a follow-up question for you. You said MC High Hammer or something along those lines. Does that mean you'd also be the dude that would be wearing those super baggy parachute pants that MC Hammer from Oakland used to wear? Because that would be one heck of a treat to see you in court litigating, advising people, and doing the typewriter with those baggy pants on.
Well, actually, I would be doing that. In addition to which, I'll do one better. I will actually be wearing the white wig that the barristers wear in London as well.
Now that is classy.
And he would be holding a glass of red wine waiting for me to say, I digress.
Right.
Dude from down under, not quite Australia, more like Austin, where I'm going to get a chance to catch up to later on in June. Jeff Charles, if we came to you and put you through the Funky app, if you're part of this rap group with MC High Hammer and you were MC Purple Cheese, right? Not DJ, you were MC Purple.
No, MC.
Okay. Mr. Charles, we put it through the machinations. What is your rap name?
Well, first off, what was the name of that app again? Because I might want to check that out.
LennyIscorny.com.org / don't
Oh, okay. So
That's what I thought.
So if I'm using Kira's formula, it would be DJ Plaid Pizza.
Nice.
DJ plaid pizza,
AKA MC such and such.
and you do
like
you do your scratching on a banjo, don't you?
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
It's the next new thing. I mean, like Nelly came along and gave us country grammar, and then the next thing now we have Jeff Charles, MC Plaid Pizza, bringing us banjo fresh.
But here's the thing: he's kind of like Tupac. He kind of goes Tupac and Machiavelli, so he's also like black banjo player. You know, as far as his alter ego, when he wants to drop that that mixtape, all of a sudden. I like that. I like that, Jeff.
Yeah. My hit is "Run with Me." Oh, Susanna, run quick, see. I got the hip hop banjo going on. See, I can mix the bluegrass and the hip hop.
You know, I will say this though. We probably shouldn't joke. We're coming up on like the 30th year anniversary of Cotton Eye Joe, and we don't want to encourage Jeff to do any type of 30-year anniversary remix on his banjo.
Oh,
World's
worst club song ever.
But we do need to know whether there is any woman that he would claim not to have had sexual relations with. But
yes, I would claim not to have had sexual relations with Patrice Cullors also. Even if I had, I would still say that.
Exactly.
All right, look, you're corrupting Kira. She has to go. You're a bad influence.
I haven't had sexual relations with.
Well, see what I mean?
I haven't had the chance to say who I didn't have sexual relations.
That's right.
How come y'all get to say it and I don't get to get a sexual relation?
I'll tell you why. Because Mr. Davis is already mad at me for trying to get you to run for governor of California. I'm not getting in any more trouble on this show with him.
Okay, fine.
Thank you. He used to play. Wait a minute, Kira. He used to play football, and you want me to keep playing with faith? I'm not a very big dude. Can't run like I used to. Put that out there.
He can't either. If that makes you feel better.
He's still big.
Yeah.
So, can I go on with the show?
All right. Sorry.
We
Yeah.
have a script here.
It's very serious show.
To go through the show, you're risking my fate. We're wasting time. Jeff's already gulping water, and Dr. Metzler's already gone through a half a glass of wine.
Yeah.
We haven't even talked about the
Gatorade,
topic.
actually.
See, he even upped the gate. We think it's Gatorade. So let's put that out there.
And let's rein it back in. Here we go.
Woosah, like they did on Anger Management with Adam Sandler and Jack Nicholson. Woosah. Kira, you got to go for just a second, but you look lovely. Thank you. Jeff, you got to go for a second because I got to ask the smartest dude on Red and Black this question. Can you tell me the difference between when something is a conspiracy theory and when something is an actual item to investigate? Would you like a hint?
Sure, why not?
It all boils down to when the presidential administrations flip over. So apparently, when it was Donald Trump saying it's probably a virus from the lab in Wuhan, it was crazy conspiracy theory. And this guy's dividing the world and he's racist. Now that Joe Biden's in there, everybody from CNN to the BBC is saying, you know what? There's a laboratory in Wuhan and it's kind of fishy as to what's going on. So I wanted to talk to you first about this because A, here's politics all over again and we wasted now over basically 18 months. And B, what are the political ramifications if it does be confirmed that it did come from a lab in Wuhan?
So yeah, absolutely. Look, when President Trump said it, everybody said, oh, no, that's simply a conspiracy theory. You're making things up. In fact, I posted on Facebook at the time that I thought it was a biological weapon that escaped on the lab coat of one of the weapons creators and was banned on Facebook for a little while. So I think what we have here from a pure political standpoint is this. The Democrats now are going to say, oh, well, That's not quite what we said. It's not quite, but that is, in fact, what you said. Rather than investigate it, what they decided to do was to simply call President Trump a loony bin.
And unfortunately, Kara, when you start talking about that and you go into the political ramifications of this, you know, this is something that people keep talking, and again, including President Biden. We got to unite America. We got to bring us together, and, you know, we got to unite the country. Well, guess what? If President Biden investigates this and it's proven that President Trump and his administration was right, and President Biden, A, doesn't give Trump credit for Operation Warp Speed, and B, doesn't say that this administration had a point when it came to the initial reports coming out of Wuhan and the cover-up coming from China and the World Health Organization not being happy. Well, let me take that back. The WHO was just fine with what China was saying. The Western civilizations were saying, you know what? Something's not quite right with what China is saying. This isn't going to unite anybody. This will play out for a very long time politically if this continues to go down the path of what we're saying.
It's definitely going to have real world consequences, if not in 2022, for sure in 2024. And I want to echo what Chris said. You know, at Red State and across the conservative blogosphere, we've been going through hell for the last 6 months, trying to stay alive, trying to stay online, having everything yanked that would question this narrative of not just other left-wing issues, but this Wuhan virus narrative. We've had to be so careful. In fact, I would venture to say that conservative media, especially us over there at Red State, is probably the most accurate media source you're going to find right now, because we've had to be meticulous about sourcing every single thing, because we know we're going to get every piece flagged, and they get flagged anyway, and we have to appeal them anyway. So our corporate headquarters spends all day appealing our articles to keep them alive, and some of them we just can't. Some of them we've had to go back to the writers and say, I'm sorry you worked on this piece for 5 hours, but we're going to get our entire Facebook page yanked forever if we post it. I mean, it outrages me. It's an injustice. I've never been the type of girl or woman who could stand to see an injustice, and it makes me crazy. It's why all this COVID stuff has made me crazy. You know, I cannot stand to see something that is unfair, and this is so grossly unfair and sickening. And Lenny, even, you know, we've already seen them trying to say, or I know you said this, Chris, we've already seen them trying to say that, oh, we didn't really say this. New York Times says and Vox have already been caught changing their articles, backdating their articles, going back and scrubbing their articles. They're literally erasing history. They're literally erasing it. I mean, I find it disgusting and reprehensible and pathetic, absolutely pathetic, that we are so caught up in this right versus left, in this liberal versus conservative, this Republican versus Democrat, this childish back and forth that we have, that people cannot even think about the facts and the information. People cannot even look at information anymore and simply say, okay, yeah, that's a bit of information that I got. It's got to be through every filter. It's killing us, and it's choking the truth. And even the liberals I'm seeing who are saying, yeah, you know, maybe we should be looking into China. What the line on it is, right, is, well, sure, Trump and other conservatives were saying it, but they were coming from a place of xenophobia.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, oh my God, I don't know. I can't do this anymore. It's just so pathetic and sick and sad. And I really hope the voters make the Biden administration pay for it. If not in 2022, then 2024. But I'm so over it. And we should be scared of this, by the way, you guys. I'll go in a second here, but we should be scared. We should not be okay with the fact that our government covered up for China. Since when is it weird or racist to suppose that a communist nation is lying to us?
Yeah.
To me, that should be the default position. That should be the default position, that they're lying, and then we have to backtrack to find the truth.
Look,
the whole thing is driving me mad, as you can tell.
Kara, that's where I was going to go with Jeff, is the fact that, you know, why aren't we hearing enough? And maybe this goes to the political bent of the country. This is part of this might be, the average American really doesn't understand what a communist country does, because you think about it, the average 30-year-old didn't grow up with the Soviet Union.
Mm-hmm.
The average 40-year-old barely remembers the Soviet Union. When you start getting to, Chris and my age, you're men of a certain age, you remember the East Germans and the Berlin Wall. You remember that the fact that communist nations have done this forever. North Korea is relevant in some regards, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have these really bad actors. But Jeff, I guess the question is, what Kira brings up, why can't we get more people saying, well, duh, you have a country that locks down their internet. So obviously they are not people that are really inclined to put truth over national narrative. This is a country in Tiananmen Square in 1989, which again predates some of these, millennials, where they had tanks running over their citizens rather than have free speech. Why not question this same regime over COVID? Why must it go back to it's anti-Asian just because you're questioning a geopolitical frenemy when it comes to a pandemic?
Because the bottom line is that President Trump did what few Republicans have been able to do. He turned the Democrats and the left into mindless reactionaries. Now, usually our side gets accused of that, but when Trump was in office, everything they did was a response to something that Trump said. Trump could have said that I like oxygen, and then all these leftists would be dead the next day because they would have held their breath. So the thing is, this is why they pretend that they can't fathom the idea that a country that locks up Muslims for their religion into concentration camps might be willing to lie about a virus escaping from the labs. I don't necessarily think if this is true, I don't necessarily think that they let it leak on purpose, but it is, I thought from the beginning that this could very well be man-made. The thing is that since Trump says it, they have to say no. They have to say, no, that's not true, because at the end of the day, they don't care about the truth. They care about repudiating Trump. They care about smearing conservatives. The term conspiracy theory was first used by the government to label their critics in a way that would keep them from being taken seriously. And they're doing the exact same thing here. And it doesn't surprise me that they're trying to flip the script and say, oh, no, this is what we've always been saying. Oh, well, Trump just said it because he was racist, not because it was true. They're acting like teenage girls, and they look stupid. And this is just yet another thing that they're doing to make themselves look dumb in the eyes of the American public. I mean, even Fauci said that this could have originated in a lab, and they still pushed back because Trump was pushing that theory. That's why Biden is shutting down the investigation. I don't think they want to find out what really happened here. And the international community, some of them might, but at the same time, how are they going to have access now? Because China's probably not going to allow them to explore the lab anymore. We may never know what happened, or it may be years before we do. But the bottom line is, in this instance, the Democrats cared more about attacking Trump. They hate Trump more than they hate a communist regime that oppresses its people, and by the way, is one of our chief opponents on the world stage. That's what we need to get here, and that is also what is scary, because they are willing to lie to the American public just to attack somebody that they don't like, regardless of what the truth says.
Well, let me go to something that's internationally scary. Dr. Metzler, people forget, 2019, we were in a tariff war. We were in a trade war. Okay, so we have a trade war. We have a contentious election where not just the Russians were trying to interfere with our election. People forget that the Chinese were also trying to interfere in our election. Whether you like Democrats, you like Republicans, the Chinese, they were responsible for multiple cyber hacks, including trying to get into the election. So you have a trade war, cyber terrorism. They have been hacking American businesses for years leading up to 2020. And then you have the pandemic. If it's proven that the Chinese either A, were sloppy, or B, were engineering something and it accidentally got out, is this enough to possibly trigger, I hate to say it, but I got to ask, is this enough to trigger a possible military intervention or worse, possibly a war?
No. And here's why. First of all, we're never going to find out what happened. The World Health Organization knows what happened. Here's what happened with WHO. This is what they did. They said, well, we have the data from China and we're satisfied with what China said. Get your asses in the lab and investigate what happened. They never did that. And remember, when Trump pulled the money from them, then all of a sudden the Democrats were like, oh, how could he do it? The respected WHO, they're not respected. They're thieves and they're criminals. Look at their budgets and look at the fact that we're the ones paying for those lavish lifestyles. Anytime they're traveling first class, upper class. And here's what happens. They can do that and they can buy a coach seat, keep the difference, and still upgrade. So this whole concept of these world organizations, and I am glad that people are talking about Linda Green as the first Black UN ambassador. Boo-hoo. Linda is a career bureaucrat. And what has she been doing? Not a damn thing. And so we're never going to find out. There's not going to be a war with China. It's just not going to happen. On the world stage, the issue is, and you've got people in Germany, for example, who parts of the German government, they know what happened. This is not news. However, but to your point earlier about why we can't get Americans enraged about this, too many Americans are simply not intellectually curious. They think, oh, it's China, it's over there somewhere. It's, and they're spending much more of their time with this whole, and as everybody said, Trump hate. Look, here's the bottom line. The media, Trump is out of office. And every minute, Trump said, even though he doesn't have his social media platform, Trump said, okay, you wanted him out of office. He's out of office. Forget about him. No, you can't, because that's what's giving them their ratings. That's the bottom line.
And Chris has a point, Kira. I mean, look, I continuously bring this up. In 2019, people were more focused on the first impeachment than they were about this growing threat that was going on in China the last quarter of 2019. We had Nancy Pelosi and Bill de Blasio and Republicans saying, go enjoy Chinese New Year. New York is open for Valentine's Day. Enjoy Chinese New Year in San Francisco. And then, whoa, wait a minute. Trump, why are you having people not fly over from China? Once again, in 2020, why are you pushing through Operation Warp Speed? You're killing all the regulations. You're going to kill people with this vaccine that Biden's taking a lot of credit for now. Now in 2021, we're focused on some of the back and forth with all the bickering back and forth with the Republicans. Are we going to have the January 6th commission, this, that, and the other? And here's this major story here coming out of Wuhan, which was something we should have been focused on in 2019 that still kind of has our attention, kind of doesn't have our attention in 2021, Kira. Is there anything that we're going to do, even if it's not more media attention? Do you think there's going to be any type of economic sanctions? Chris doesn't think there'll be military intervention, but are we just going to let this ride because we don't want to anger the second largest economy in the world?
Yep. And that was part. I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere down the road we found out that China was funneling money to some of these people to sway our election. Not to sound like a Democrat.
No, they were. They already found that.
Yeah.
China was trying to interfere. They had operations and everything.
See, I mean, so I want to note, and I can't remember. I've said it on several Red and Blacks and my podcast a lot. But I want everyone to note that I have said repeatedly that history would be kind to Donald Trump. And when I say that, people laugh at me. Not everybody, but some people, because everybody thinks that the narrative we have about him today is what we're going to have in 10 years. But it's only taken 6 months for all of a sudden for all of this stuff he said is true. It wasn't just that, oh God, Trump's so crazy. It wasn't that. He was right. He was right. It's just that he was so blunt that we just weren't used to that bluntness. It sounded like insanity to us. But he was telling us the truth. And little by little, the truth is coming out. And I have never understood this complete denial by the left of China's involvement in something nefarious. I mean, if you don't even have to think about it very hard, there is a secret biological weapons testing lab in Wuhan.
Yeah.
And a virus that shut down the whole world came out of Wuhan. You guys, am I the crazy one for thinking that it makes sense to put those things together? That just seems like basic intellectual connections.
And do you remember? Do you remember what we saw on Facebook more often than not when this all started coming out of Wuhan? We saw all kind of images on, and I brought this up on Red and Black previously. We were bombarded with images in social media, which, by the way, if people don't think you're being manipulated with social media, think again. I mean, not to quote, both Candace Owens and the Matrix, take the red pill, not the blue pill. We got hit with images about people eating bats and told all the time that, these crazy people in China, they eat bats, and that's the reason why they're getting this strange virus. They didn't start eating bats in China in 2019. They didn't just start having wet markets. So why are we all of a sudden buying into this narrative? And Chris, I'm going to bounce back to you before we kind of pivot into something else. But, my concern is geopolitically, it's almost like China can't lose. People seem to be afraid to go against them militarily because they have over 1 billion people in their society. They have the foot soldiers necessary if you have a long and drawn out war. The second largest economy in the world. And they're well positioned when you start talking about expansion of influence in Asia, in the Pacific Rim, and the like. It seems as though one way or another, they're going to get away with this absolutely egregious situation.
Well, of course they are. Who's going to stop them? Who's going to check them, boo? I mean, it's just not gonna happen. Look, the economic component of this alone, are they really? China is gonna be like, okay, give me my money back. Bitch better have my money. I mean, it's just,
look, this is great because look, people forget about this. This is where the national debt arguments that Tea Party conservatives brought up over the years, now all of a sudden comes into play. People didn't want to talk about that, but here you go. People said, well, that doesn't really matter. It's funny money. You can print your own money. The national debt, Keynesian theory, doesn't really matter. Here's an example to Chris's point, Jeff. This is where it does matter because where you could try to be punitive towards China at the worst case scenario being absolutely sloppy. People also forget this is the very first time, if I remember correctly, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, that Wuhan had this level of a laboratory there with this risk in the lab where they didn't have this previously. And then you have this happening over the first couple of years that this is going on there.
Yeah, and the question also becomes with Wuhan and the scientists, what countries are sharing scientists with them? What universities have visiting scientists from their universities in Wuhan? Those are questions that people are not asking. Remember, too, the problem with American education is we educate because we're after the money. The Chinese and a number of other countries, they learn what we do, they go back to their countries, and then they kick our asses. And that is exactly what's going on here. Yeah, China has some decent universities, not the quality of what we have in the US and the UK. But I'm telling you, this academic piece needs to be looked at. And just one more thing relative to Fauci. I'm sorry. Why is that dude still there? What the hell? He should have been fired a long time ago.
You know where the bodies are.
Yeah, he knows.
Yeah, I think so.
And people
he knows who has sexual relations with who.
Yeah, and that is exactly the question.
Jeff, let me go over to you real quick. People, and I'm not trying to toot the Trump horn per se, but let's go back to something that did resonate with people for 4 years. That got him elected in 2016 and helped him build his base, which is the America First whole mantra there. And when you start talking about the national debt and you start talking about American independence and being truly independent from energy's perspective, from a fiscal perspective and the like, it would seem to lend credence to avoiding situations where you want to push back on a geopolitical player, but you can't because they hold too much of your debt. And as a result, you got to bite your tongue, even as 500,000 of your citizens die over the course of 15 to 18 months from a mistake or something otherwise that they help create.
Well, I think when he came on the scene in 2015 and 2016, one of the reasons he won is because he tapped into a sentiment that a lot of people felt. They're tired of America being taken advantage of. And he tapped into that, whether that's true or not, but he was able to talk about how China's eating our lunch, how we're always kowtowing to China because they have so much power over us. Same thing even with NATO. We're being treated unfairly by our allies. But the notion that America was being treated unfairly by different international forces resonated with people. And China was on the top of the shelf with that. So I think it is one of the reasons why he won. I think it's one of the reasons why people appreciated his more pugnacious attitude towards China. And while, people on the left would just say it's because, it's because he doesn't like Chinese people or whatever bullshit they come up with. The bottom line is that I think that even people, rank and file people on the left, could get on board with that, even if they didn't like other things about him. Now we have an administration in office who is more friendly to China. For probably plenty of reasons, but that I would have to digress for that. But it's only when Lenny that the line comes out.
You don't.
I know. See, I have the power of the digression too. But the bottom line is, now that we have an administration that is more friendly, and I do think this is one of the reasons why they shut down the investigation, and I think it's one of the reasons why they're trying to downplay this, is because they don't want to piss off China. Now, mind you, I don't think it's because I'm more cynical. I don't think this is because they're afraid of how it'll impact the country, because just like they can hurt us through economic sanctions, we can hurt the hell out of them too. No, I think it's because they have personal interest in that area.
They all do. They all do.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's part of the economic thing. It's their economics, not ours.
Right.
Yeah.
So that money is going into their pocket, so they're not going to upset the apple cart.
10% for the big guy.
Yep. And
that's
that
what
is
I was
exactly
talking
right.
about.
Yeah. And so it would be interesting to find out, how many interests do we have in this administration and their connections relative to investing those kinds of things in China. Would be very interesting to find out. Or offshore Chinese companies.
That would be interesting too. What I'm going to do now is, Kira, I'm going to give you the opportunity to say BS or some type of word, because these two guys were fired up and they shot off a couple of things. I was looking for my buzzer to kind of bleep out their language this week, but I couldn't find it. So if you want to say something's BS, go right ahead so you don't feel left out before I go to Jeff and his article.
No. I think Jeff's I think Jeff's rapper name is bullshit.
Dang.
Wow. Well, look, Jeff, you deserve it. You play it. You're black and you play a banjo. I mean, it's gonna kind of come.
Purple cheese.
That is cold-blooded.
Speaking of cold-blooded, you like that pivot, Kira? She likes it so much she's going to take a drink break real quick. And Dr. Metzler is going to take a real drink break real quick. Jeff, I want to talk to you about your article in regards to people getting in the way of doing the right thing for kids. And this is just another example of, we love everybody. We are the world. Everybody sings along and waves their hands until it's time to do something. And then there's some type of barrier. Can you kick it off? Tell me about what you were writing about in your article, especially talking, with Lawrence B. Jones covering the show, the story, and you writing about it on Red State.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been following what King Randall has been doing for a while now, and we've talked. I'm hoping to get him on my show sometime soon, but he's doing a lot of great things, and he was on. One of the things he's doing is he wants to build a school in Albany, Georgia, and he's been trying to get a building. And it turns out he's been in negotiations with the local school board or the school district to buy a building. And it sounds like they've been kind of dragging this out for months and months and months. But when he made that appearance on Fox News Primetime with Lawrence B. Jones, who's been awesome about having people like him on his show, he's straight up, he spilled the tea and he said, they are trying to stop what I'm doing. They are trying to block his vision for what he wants for this school. And by the way, this school is intended specifically for disadvantaged boys, predominantly Black. Albany, Georgia, I looked it up, it's about 73, 74% Black. And he wants to take these children who have been through the judicial system, who have been victims of child molestation, or they've gotten into the wrong type of life, and he wants to turn their lives around. And he has this program called the X for Boys, been doing it for a couple of years. And so he wants to build the school, and they came back with an agreement with a contract saying that if they sell him the school, then they're only willing to do it as long as they allow them to control the curriculum and control the education and control what he wants to teach these kids. Now, on top of that, they also raised the price a little bit, which it doesn't seem like that concerned him as much, but it was more because, you can't buy the school from us unless you run it the way that we say you run it. And on top of that, he found out later that the superintendent, that he did say allegedly, but he said he's alleged to have said that he doesn't want the competition, which is absurd because King Randall isn't necessarily trying to take students from the school district. Again, he's going through the judicial system to get children who might be disadvantaged. So he's having to stall these students who want to come to the school. He's stalling these parents saying, hey, we're trying to get this going, but we don't have it yet. The parents want to send their kids to his school.
Of course.
Yeah. And he's having to stall them because these people are pushing back. And it's very interesting because these are the same people that are like, oh, we value education. We need to fix education in the Black community. Lenny, you and I talked about this a few weeks ago, and I was pissed off by that conversation. But when I saw his story, I was like, this is exactly the same shit that Lenny was talking about when we talked. When Black people want to do it on their own, or at least find a way to change lives and to make men into these kids who don't have role models, here comes the government stepping in to stop it because they do not care about Black people. They don't care about anybody, but they especially don't care about Black people who are trying to do something in their communities to enrich the lives of Black boys who will become Black men. I could go on and on about this because the stuff that King Randall is doing, like he recently bought 40 acres of land to have a summer program where Black boys can learn how to fish, hunt, be self-sufficient, even being taught trades like becoming an electrician, a plumber, all kinds of stuff. And I'm just scratching the surface. So he has a track record. So I understand that they want somebody with a track record, but at the same time, you're selling a building. You don't get to determine what you do when you sell a building. If I sell you my car, I don't get to tell you where you can drive in the car that I'm selling you. It's yours now. It's yours.
Jeff, these are, look, I'm going to go to you, Kira, I promise, but these are the things, and I'm not going to go.
Like bullshit. I want to take it back.
There you go. There you go. These are the things, and Jeff's right. These are the things not only did Jeff and I talk about, but you talk about reliving another life that I'm living right now. That's the epitome of it. Where, okay, we'll sell a building at $1 until you want it for something that may compete with me. So now I'm going to put the price up to $3. I really don't want to educate these kids, but as long as in the judicial system, they got to come back to the school district and they're allocated to me, I want that money. I don't want them in the school because I don't know how to teach them. I don't know how to deal with them. I don't know how to relate to them, but I sure as heck want that $15,000 to $20,000 from the state coming from them. So, Kira, I get the frustration, and Jeff is 100% correct, but this is what school choice battles look like, whether it's private school, charter school, or what King Randall is doing down in Georgia. It's the same resonance, because the truth is, it's the elected school boards, it's the people that control the state money for public education and local money for public education that think it's their money, not money allocated to kids to make sure that they can be contributors to the American society when they become adults.
So the reason why I'm like about to pop off sitting in my chair is because this is the issue. And this is the thing, the very kind of situation that made me a conservative. Being in education, Gary, running an after-school program, having aspirations, Gary is shelled out. There's nothing there. There's just buildings crumbling. Going to the city and saying, hey, I can raise money to renovate this building. Help me out. Help me get the permits. Help me connect me to donors who could help me do this. Will improve the look of the city, and we'll have a place to educate our kids. But if you don't want to kiss the rings, then you are a non-entity. If they don't get it, I can't tell you. Both personally, things I wanted for myself personally, property that I wanted to develop, my husband and I wanted to develop in the city, and property that we were trying to acquire to help the kids. I can't tell you how many times I was pushed away or rejected because we weren't willing to do it within the public school system or to grease the palms of the people in the city council. And Dr. Metzler talked about this on this show before. I can't remember which episodes, but he has said, I'm gonna just get real with y'all right now. This is a problem that Black people have, crab in a barrel syndrome, and it is killing our children. It's disgusting. You know, and I say this in a lot of places, and people will say, whoa, that's racist, or white folks might want to challenge me on this, but this is just something we deal with in our communities. It is reality. And I'm sorry, it's not a reality that some people want to look at, but it is. It's this crabs in a barrel syndrome where everybody's just trying to get their own. And then who loses? The people who need it most. This story makes me so outraged because I have been through, just like Lenny has said, I've been through exactly this thing. And it is exactly the reason why I am a conservative to this day. The school board should be ashamed. It's pathetic. And this story deserves to be viral, and I hope that it continues to catch fire. I mean, I hope it's not just up to Lawrence Jones to be highlighting this story. I think every pundit across the country, no matter what side of the fence they're on, should be talking to King Randall.
And but it's amazing. It becomes political, right?
Yeah, and but see, here's the thing. Here's who you're not going to see. And here is the opportunity that the conservative legal community is missing. You're not going to see Ben Crump. You're not going to see Al Sharpton. You're not going to see Lee Merritt. You're not going to see any of those people on the ground. Look, what they are doing relative to that building and putting all these covenants is illegal. Plain and simple. They can't do that. That is illegal. But the conservative legal community, we don't want to take up those issues en masse. What we want to do is focus, let's focus, more on bread and butter issues like abortion. Look, this is an opportunity.
Hold on, Chris. We don't want to focus on bread and butter issues like that. When we talk about race, let's talk about the crime on the south side of Chicago.
Well, right. But see, this is the thing. And this is where conservative lawyers need to step up and sue their asses.
Yes.
And because it's clearly illegal. But instead, folks are going around where Ben Crump is always showing up. They're always showing up, but we don't show up anywhere. So what? And that, I think, is an opportunity that's being missed here.
Now, Chris and Jeff, you have brought that up previously on Red and Black as well, saying, look, and I'm sure you're going to probably mention this at Resource Bank as well. It's like, look, You want to expand the base and expand the audience? You got to expand the tactics. I mean, Kira, you brought this up before. You complain about what Dr. M just said. You complain that these civil rights, quote unquote, grifters always show up. We never show up. And by the way, some of these things are clearly unconstitutional.
Yeah.
Claim you love the Constitution so much. There are other amendments after the second one. Keep reading. There's some pretty interesting stuff there that we got on our side. And that 14th Amendment is a doozy. It covers a whole bunch of stuff, but we don't go after that. Now, do we, Jeff?
See, here's the thing. We don't bother with solutions. My fear with conservative media, and what I'm about to say excludes Lawrence B. Jones, because Lawrence B. Jones, I know, wants to solve this problem.
Dig it.
They will only use this story to attack the left, and that's it. They won't come with solutions. Dr. Metzler, you hit on the head. We don't have conservative lawyers who would fight for something like this. We do have lawyers who will fight for Nicholas Sandmann when he's unfairly smeared by the media.
Yes.
We have lawyers who will fight for various conservative figures who get banned on social media or what have you. We had conservative lawyers go and help to fight President Trump's battle with the election. But when we see a young Black conservative man who is trying to implement conservative solutions, we won't do jack except pretend to care about it so that we can slam the left. I'm sure that there are a lot of conservatives who will cover this who actually want to help, but the rest are just going to use it as political fodder. And he's not going to, I hope this doesn't happen, but I mean, it doesn't sound like anybody on the right really wants to help him. If I were a lawyer, or if I had that expertise, or if I knew somebody, I would do what I can. I use my platform to get it out there more, but he needs help, and not even just with the building. Just this should be the type of person that we want to help in general. Because Black people need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. They need to do for themselves. Okay, well, now they are. Let's support them.
I did post this story on my Twitter account, and a lot of people came underneath it to donate to him. So we're not talking about rank and file, which
not rank and file. No. Rank and file would love to help.
People are watching this and feeling accused, maybe that they haven't cared or helped. But what Jeff is saying is that there are people with expertise who aren't stepping up. They'll step up to other situations. We can only do so much. You know, this guy needs a lawyer. If you're a conservative lawyer out there and you have the means, or at least have a connection, contact this boy, contact this man, you know, contact this group of boys who are trying to their damnedest to be better. Just show up, because government if I hear one more person ask me why Black people are so conservative, but they don't vote conservative, it's because government goes to those who show up.
Yeah, that's right.
Conservatives have decided not to show up in these neighborhoods anymore. So what do you expect the people to do?
You know what? Y'all need to calm down. You know what? Y'all need to calm down, and y'all probably need to cover up like the young ladies in the high school yearbook that had all this showing. Now, I'm being facetious because the first thing I really want to say about this story, and I'm going to go to Kira first because, you know, she is our resident red and black used to be a teenage girl expert on the
I have boobs.
I said used to be a teenage girl.
Frozen. Somebody isolate that shot of Lenny just frozen.
I digress because I'm trying to walk around this issue gently. First of all, what grown folk is really sitting there saying, oh my, I'm offended by the 16-year-old, like little bit of a low cut type of dress, skirt. Look, they're senior pictures. Now, if we're talking about some of the prom dresses we've seen over the last 30 years, okay, because there are some times where Pookie and his date, or it ain't even always just Pookie. Sometimes it's like Jimmy J from around the
way, or Chad.
Look, that is a multicultural thing with some teenagers looking a hot, holy mess for the prom.
Oh yeah. Well, I live in Orange County, and around prom time, woo.
Bingo. So this ain't just for black folks. For all of you all thinking this is black folks.
Can cut up. I mean, I used to love watching back in Gary watching the prom public access, the prom. So we could talk about the outfits.
Did you and your cousin start talking about the love you used to save and you want them back?
Lord, I'm mercy. Lord, I'm mercy.
Yeah.
Sarah.
Look, I'll tell you what. So somebody, I don't even know who was it that was decided in these yearbooks to actually physically Photoshop out the cleavage of young girls. And I saw the before and after pictures and they weren't that bad. Ironically, I was a couple minutes late coming to this show because I actually had to change my shirt because there was too much cleavage going on. But I'll tell you what, two things that I think here. I think A, yeah, it's stupid, but B, it doesn't surprise me because this stuff happens even still to this day, believe it or not, even though we're so very progressive. Like when I was in school, even to have a bra strap showing, if your bra was showing, you would be called into the office. It wasn't until the late 80s that you were allowed to wear shorts in school as a girl. And there are kind of, I think this is what I think happens. I'm not sure, but this is what I think. I think what happens is these are older women my age that are editing the yearbooks, and they know how gross and dirty young guys are, and so they look through everything through that lens, right? And they look through it as the lens of moms. And it's like, I don't want my daughter to like, she's modest. This is a yearbook photo. I don't want there to be any looking down here, no eyes down here. I don't even want the eyes to be drawn. So it is silly, but I would just chalk it up to kind of like, I think it's just moms doing it and just moms knowing how gross boys can be and feeling a little oversensitive.
I get that. And before we go, I'm gonna challenge some dads on Red and Black and say, because my theory has always been, when do you teach your young boys by popping them in the back of the head or snapping your fingers or going, hey, dude, when do you start teaching boys that just because a lady wears something that's fashionable doesn't mean that your eyes have to pop out of your head?
The first time it happens. Thank
you. Thank you. And I don't understand why more men. I mean, I get what you're saying here from the mom perspective, but from the dad perspective, this is something you're supposed to be teaching at 3, 4, 5, 6. Look, 3, 4, 5, 6-year-old boys know that girls and women are pretty. They don't know why. They can't articulate it. I will not embarrass the kid that's home that just graduated from some institution, but used to literally tell women that they sounded pretty on the phone at 4 years old. Now, does that mean he was just all over the place? He's probably completely embarrassed now, but I digress. The bottom line is, as a man, right, Jeff, right, Chris, that's your responsibility to say, okay, you got to respect their bodies at 3 and at 5 and at 10 and at 13, because they're ladies all the way through. And when you're doing this type of photoshopping, aren't you excusing the guy's behavior because you're trying to protect the girls?
Yeah, but we didn't have that problem this week with the principal deputy White House press secretary, did we?
Oh yeah, she looked like she was on the red carpet.
I didn't even see that.
Better.
Yeah, she's a Democrat, Jeff, so I'm sure you're going to probably look over the course of the next week.
Right.
So let's just put that out there.
Yeah, so Kareem Jean-Pierre, who was the first Black woman in, I think, 31 years to brief at the podium. So she was there. She's the principal deputy press secretary. And I, again, want to say I did not have sexual relations with her either.
Okay.
Well,
you heard it here first.
There, a couple of issues. First, she is happily engaged to the wonderful Suzanne Malveaux from CNN. So there's that.
Oh, wow.
And they do have a beautiful daughter.
And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to move on. I mean, So how old is Corinne? How old is she?
Probably I would say late 40s.
Okay, the age of
She looks like she's 17.
that's
No,
where
no.
I was going, Kara. I was like, the age, like, no, if you're gonna get your groove on it in your early 50s, and God bless you. But
yeah, and she and Suzanne have been together for a while. And by the way, shout out to the Caribbean. She's Haitian.
so of course you would. Let's start the music and get ready to get out of here because we don't want any more shout outs from Chris or anything else. Because I'm starting to smell a whole lot of smoke with this, all the smoke. I'm starting to see some fire with this. I did not have sexual relations. You mentioned it 4 different times, dude. So I'm getting really nervous. I think you're trying to build up an alibi. So let's ask you first what you're doing this week, just in case you need an alibi. No.
Well, we'll be releasing my interview with General Flynn coming up this week, focusing not on the political aspect of his life, but he has an organization called America's Future, which is working through grants, scholarships, etc., to really instill and help people understand conservative values. So that's coming up this week.
Fantastic. Kira, please do not take that long because we got to get out of here. What are you doing this week?
Just listen to yourself this week. I'm talking about why college is so expensive, breaking that down. And then I have an interview with Charles Love, who's got a book coming out called Race Crazy. So we talk about critical race theory, and it was a really great conversation. Basically, just go check out my Just Listen to Yourself podcast. You'll like it this week.
Fantastic. Mr.
We like it every week.
Oh, thank you.
Of course, check it out every week. And, before the primetime players on there, the person that used to be in primetime before she elbowed him out of the way, Jeff Charles, what you got going on this week?
Yeah, I got the same old. Now, I changed up my live stream schedule a little bit. So I'm going to be broadcasting at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Tuesdays and Fridays so that I'll have some level of sanity.
I just changed my schedule to Tuesdays. I
didn't know that. See, we're on the same. We're too far on the same wavelength. That's what's going on.
Oh, is that what you call it? Because everybody else calls it direct competition, Jeff. I'm just putting it out there.
No,
wait, is yours at 8 o'clock though?
Yeah, no, mine's an hour. Mine's still the same time, an hour before here.
Okay, well, yeah, then after the don't watch you, then they can watch me. But everything else is the same. I've got some cool interviews coming up too, as well, for my audio podcast, which is also a fresh perspective with Jeff Charles. So check me out.
Listen, I love working with these folks. As you can tell, they're smart. They're insightful, they're good people, and they're going places. So for MC Purple Cheese, MC High Hammer, and DJ Plaid Pizza, Wiki, blackbanjoplayer.com.org, it's me, MC Carlton Urkel, signing off, saying have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend, and we promise you that we will never bring you our rap names again on Red and Black. Ever, or at least until next week. We'll see. In the meanwhile, TTNGB, we'll catch up to you soon. Take care and God bless everybody.
Bye.
Peace.
Bye.
Peace.